I'm Tim, welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Bremont World Timer chronograph ALT1-WT in stainless steel. You can see and you can purchase this dual time chronograph on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this Bremont chronograph with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images, and naturally full pricing details for this Bremont chronograph. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, the watch has a very Bremont profile, which is to say large but a little bit idiosyncratic and to the advantage of those who love the type. The watch is 43 millimeters across the round of the case. You can see that this doesn't include the crown, doesn't include the chronograph pushers, and it doesn't include the crown that's used to adjust the World Time Chapter ring. In terms of thickness, the watch certainly isn't slim, and it's a oversized appropriate 16.5 millimeters thick. There's a little bit of a step and a bevel to the bezel, but for the most part, this is a watch to be worn outside long sleeves. It's a watch you're going to want to see. Perhaps not the best companion for black tie affairs. Now from lug to lug, because of the solid end links of the bracelet, this no-holds-barred tool watch measures a robust 56 millimeters, putting it solidly into a size class alongside the likes of something like a Breitling Super Avenger 2 or a Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 45. Now the watch has a substantial 3-link bracelet, and you can see that Bremont really didn't hold back building a bracelet equal to the task of retaining this immense watch. You can see the links are substantial. All of the removable links use screws, not pins and sleeves. Very solid. It's a 3-link style design, and it features a satin finish with no polished accents. So although large, the metal that's portrayed is in muted fashion. Discreet, tasteful, very British. The watch features a very substantial Bremont deployant, milled out twin trigger clasp. The clasp itself is substantial. It takes its cues from the milled out Omega clasps that first debuted in the 90s, but it surpasses them in terms of mass and substance. And twin trigger actuation, it can simply pop open, not friction fit, requires positive release. Now you'll note that the watch features a case in the traditional and, as I mentioned earlier, slightly quirky Bremont fashion. You can see the triptych case coating, which creates effectively a two-tone without resorting to precious metals. And then you can see the flare, almost the vaulted arc of the case band around the center case portion. So the tonal contrast works well, but the arc itself adds a little bit of sensuality and sex appeal to an otherwise utilitarian instrument. Now the dial dominates the watch. The bezel is actually quite minimalist, quite slim and flat, and you can see that there is a World Time reference ring inboard of the bezel that doubles as a rayhot sloping down to the geosphere inscribed dial. You can see the geosphere motif a little bit more clearly if I hold the watch at an angle to the light and keep it stationary. It's a little bit like the geosphere on the back of some Jaeger-LeCoultre watches. Now, the dial itself features a handsome array of colors: red, black, white, silver. It's beautifully arrayed and beautifully legible, and it's also designed to make easy work of judging the time globally. For instance, let's say I set my second time zone, you can see the red hand just underneath the minutes hand, to GMT or London time. Well, London is my reference up at 12 o'clock. Then I have access to the reference cities around the world, and for instance, if I wanted to know what time it is in New York, after I read my London time, I can count back 5 hours because New York is GMT -5, so if it's 10 a.m. London time, it'll be 5 a.m. New York time. The reference cities are really there for your convenience, as the watch uses a simple Valjoux 7754 dual time chronograph caliber, which means that you can set the reference hand, the 24-hour hand that moves once around the dial per day, independently of the local hour hand. Now there is a double quick set system for this very purpose. The crown, although it is not a screw down, does endow the watch with 100 meters water resistant, and you can see how I can rapidly set the date with the quick set, and if I turn in the opposite direction, I can then move that second time zone along. So what I wind up with is a 100 meter water resistant chronograph with a dual time function, a jump date, a quick set, hacking, which means I can pull the crown and stop the balance altogether to synchronize to a reference time. And we'll show you exactly how that works. And you'll see the balance is frozen on the caliber, which is an exceptionally high-grade value 7754, nicely decorated for Bremont's purposes. This one doesn't read as generic in any fashion. It's definitely a cut above in terms of finish, as well as functional finish, since it is a COSC certified Swiss chronometer, so not only does it look good, but it works just as well. And of course, Bremont, bringing watchmaking back to Britain, correctly identifies this watch as fundamentally assembled and finished in London. Although many of the components are Swiss, the actual final assembly, which is generally the yardstick used for national origin, does take place in London. And you'll note that the watch has a characteristic look that ties it well to other Bremont watches, so it's definitely a member of the family. If you're an enthusiast of the brand, or you're simply looking for a reliable sports watch with a modern size and sensibility that everyone else doesn't have, consider the British brand Bremont, and consider this ALT1-WT World Time chronograph.